Hey everyone, it's Pixelade here and welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. So this is kind of wild. There are multiple reports saying Electronic Arts, the company behind The Sims, is in talks to be sold in a deal worth up to $50 billion. Now, if it goes through, it would be one of the biggest buyouts in gaming history and of course would take EA private, meaning it would no longer be traded on the stock market. So the deal involves Silver Lake, a private equity firm, and Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, which already owns 10% of EA. The Wall Street Journal and other outlets say this could be announced as early as next week, though the final price is still being negotiated. Now, it is important to note that EA's market value currently sits around $43 billion, but the reported buyout figure could push this closer to 50. Now, before we go too deep into this, a quick word from today's sponsor, Instant Gaming. If you're looking to grab Sims DLC or just about any game at a massive discount, Instant Gaming has you covered. Sims 4 DLC is up to 70%, and other games and expansions are discounted as much as 90%. And do not forget, we're coming up on the end of September, which means the latest monthly giveaway is about to close. Of course, entering doesn't cost a single thing, there's no risk, and if you win, you can pick any Sims expansion pack, game pack, or even a completely different game of your choice if you choose. All you need to do is follow Instant Gaming socials, and if you follow me as well, you will score bonus entries. One winner will be picked at the end of the month, and it is posted publicly on the giveaway page, so make sure you get your name in before time runs out. So back to this potential EA deal. If you're wondering what going private actually means, here's the short version. When a company goes public, they're under constant pressure to please shareholders, boost their stock prices, keep up with regulations, etc. But by going private, ownership actually shifts to just a small group of investors. That means decisions can be made faster with less outside scrutiny, without the constant ups and downs of the stock market. And just to be clear here, when a company goes private, it's not like they suddenly operate with zero rules. They still have to follow business laws and regulations. The difference is they don't have to file the same constant financial reports or answer to thousands of shareholders, and that is what gives them more privacy and flexibility, but it is not a total free-for-all. That's basically the upside. The downside is that deals like this are usually leveraged buyouts, which means they're financed with a ton of borrowed money. If the company struggles to pay that back, it's not the investors who eat the losses, it's the company itself, and that can lead to layoffs or possibly even closures. So what does all of this mean for The Sims? Well, in the short term, probably not much. The Sims 4 expansions that are already in development will obviously still come out. Project Renee isn't going to vanish overnight, at least in my opinion, but long term, I think it could go one of two ways. On the positive side, new ownership could decide that The Sims is one of EA's most reliable series and maybe give it more support with more resources and maybe more attention than it is getting right now. But on the flip side, there's always the risk that that decision gets made with profit margins as the only priority, and that could ultimately lead to more monetization or less transparency about what's coming next. Now, I want to talk a little more about Project Renee, which is where I think this deal could really have an impact down the line. We already know quite a bit about it, but at the same time, it feels like updates are few and far in between. From what has been shared though, it seems like it's going to lean heavily into online features and microtransactions, and I can't help but wonder if EA does go private, how would that shift for things with this release in particular? Would new ownership push even harder on monetization since it's such a reliable way to generate steady revenue? Could it possibly go the other direction where they decide to make it more player friendly to build trust with the community? Honestly, I have no clue, but I don't really see much changing in the short term, at least for The Sims 4. That is already so established and profitable. I personally doubt they're going to touch that if all of this does happen, but that's just my own opinion. Project Renee though, it's still in development, and it definitely feels like it is way more vulnerable to these kinds of corporate changes if they do happen. Again, just my own speculation, but it is worth keeping in mind as we look at what this deal might mean for the future of the franchise as a whole. It's also worth remembering that this isn't the first time EA has been tied to buyout rumors. A couple years ago in 2022, there was a big story about Amazon buying them, which did turn out to not be true, but it showed just how often EA's name does get floated when big acquisitions are in the air. The difference this time though is that these reports are coming from the Wall Street Journal and multiple other outlets, and they're pointing to actual investor groups already at the table, so it's looking more likely than those past rumors. And of course, the Saudi involvement will definitely add another layer to all of this. Their public investment fund has been pouring money into global sports, media, and gaming for many years, including Nintendo and Capcom, and critics have called it sports washing. So for some players, that part of the story might be the biggest concern here. But I'm curious on what you guys think. Would taking EA private help The Sims finally get the focus it deserves, or do you think it could potentially make things worse? Definitely share all of your thoughts and concerns down below. That's going to be it from me for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and happy life simming.